All right, welcome everybody. Today we have creating your social media marketing strategy for 2021, presented by Office Centers and Skol Marketing. Our presenter today is Marty with Skol Marketing. He runs the social media program, works on the web design team, and manages the internal marketing operations for Skol Marketing. While Marty is giving the presentation, I'd like to remind everybody to please keep your mics muted so that we don't have any interruptions. If you have any questions, you can type them in the chat. When there's a break in the conversation, we can bring those questions up, or at the end, we'll have a Q&A session so that Marty can answer questions for you guys. Marty, if you have anything else to add before we get going, that'd be great. Otherwise, yeah, that's it.
Perfect. Just sharing my screen here. Oops. Classic. There we go. All right. I appreciate it, and obviously we love Office Centers with Skol Marketing, so we're super happy to be working with them on these. And just a reminder, feel free to send any questions you have to us via chat, and we'll be answering them at the end primarily. And throughout the presentations, if there's any clarifications, feel free to chime in. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So just a quick overview, we're going to dive into all the different platforms that I have listed here. So the Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, Google My Business, Pinterest, Snapchat, and TikTok. We're going to talk about different demographics related to these different platforms, what sort of things you should be posting on them, what the negatives and positives are of them, and then we'll dive into some other positives or things to think about when you are working on social media. So what is social media? I'm pretty sure most of us know, right? It's web-based platforms that we use to connect socially. There are 3.8 billion users using social media worldwide. So it's a huge group to pool to choose from. But the big thing to note is that's a lot of people. So we want to break it down and figure out, all right, what social platforms are going to be best for your business specifically, and based on your demographics and different things like that, where should you focus your attention? So when you're utilizing social media, the big key is you want to present yourself as an industry expert. Okay, so the idea behind being on social platforms is not about sell. You don't want to just push your product, push your service, push your everything. So when we talk about that, we talk about give, ask. So we talk about when you are actually putting those posts out there, that you are giving away information. It doesn't have to be like world-changing info, but helpful info. It could be tips or statistics or facts or stats or things like that that are going to be informative for your clientele and give them a reason to come back to your social platforms. And then, of course, don't forget to ask. As much as I said, don't sell. You do want to try to do that, but you can do it in a way that's not overly aggressive. And by doing so, you can talk about a positive of something that you can help with, and make sure to add a note that says, if you need help with this, go to our website, that sort of idea. Being a resource for followers and potential followers is also key in terms of not just posting things about your website. So look at trying to find articles that relate to what you offer and post about those. So for example, in our industry, we might post an article that is a statistic on why businesses should use Snapchat. or an article focused on that, and that post might be written by somebody not Skol marketing related. Promoting other resources shows that you're doing research and you're keeping up with the latest trends and changes. And it's a great opportunity to basically pool together your knowledge and show, hey, you don't have to go anywhere else besides my social platforms to find these resources. The other thing to recognize is that social media is not fully a sales tool. A lot of people think, hey, I'm going to get on social media and then I'm going to drive a lot of traffic and I'm going to get new clients just because of that. There's a lot of different aspects of that can lead to things like that. But social media is more like it's like a constantly changing billboard for your business. And you're able to change that and add those things and put that information out there for free. And there's opportunities for that paid side as well. So when I talk about that, branding is super important when it comes to social media. You're getting your messaging out there. You're talking about who you are, who you work with, and you're stylizing your posts and all that stuff. Customer service is also a key point. So people can comment on posts. They can reach out to you via messages, things like that. It's a great resource for your customers to connect with you. As we mentioned earlier, social media is a place that we are meant to be social. And so your customers are hoping to connect with you through that as well. And then SEO, we'll talk about that a little bit later, but your posts are indexed by Google on a number of platforms. And so the actual posts themselves can have kind of a shotgun effect to your SEO and really help expand your reach and grow your website rankings on Google. And then obviously last, sales. I know for a fact that lots of businesses will get sales, whether it's selling a product or a service. People will reach out through messages, comments, things like that based on your posts. So obviously don't forget about sales, but it's important to note that that is not the only part of social media. So as we dive into the different platforms, we wanted to start with Facebook because Facebook is kind of the golden standard. It's the biggest, most widely used platform and has been around quite a long time. 2.6 billion monthly users. That is quite a lot. And so when I talk about a platform that every business likely should be on, Facebook is definitely the place because there are so many different user faces. But when we dive into things like demographics, it may not be the best place to focus all of your energy on. For example, if you are focused on a younger demographic, or that's where you're trying to really grow, maybe it's not the best place because their average user is between 25 to 40. And actually the fastest growing population on Facebook is 65 plus. So it's actually a great place to look at, especially if you are focused on more of that older demographic, tend to be newer to technology. You'll notice a theme, most of the platforms are a little bit more female focused, but when I say that, it's more like a 60-40 split. So there are still males on these platforms and it's just female leaning. 66% of users are going to be using Facebook on a daily basis on an average of 20 minutes per day, which is quite a lot when you think about how many users are on there. So what do we post on Facebook? This is a question we get all the time. The best things to post are going to be blogs and articles. Blogs that you've written for your own website are going to be awesome because you're driving traffic to your own website. Posting a link in your actual post obviously will link those users to go to your website if they want to read more. And then articles, as I mentioned previously, are going to be a great way to showcase yourself as an expert in the industry. Pictures, I recommend adding pictures to every post that you can. I know that when you post an article or something like that, it automatically brings in a picture, but that's just a link box. So if you can add an image is going to be a key factor because it tends to do better. And then video, Facebook Live or posting videos tend to have a lot of success. It is a largely growing platform in terms of video, comparable to YouTube in a lot of ways. But Facebook Live is a great opportunity for you to jump on those discovery sessions with customers, talk about a short webinar like this, for example. That could be something you could look to utilize on a weekly or monthly basis. Posting updates and questions, having conversations with customers is going to be huge as well. How you use it, obviously the goal, drive traffic to your website. That's a big key with any business strategy when you're using social media. You're looking to engage with your followers and make sure to connect with customers and things like that. And you can also obviously promote events and products. They've actually rolled out new features within Facebook and Instagram, which we'll talk about a little bit later, that allow you to just bring in your e-commerce products and post those. People can buy directly through Facebook. So pretty neat stuff on that side of things. And if you are selling products or have an e-commerce store, would highly recommend looking at that as another venue. The negatives, because there's so many users on there, it's highly competitive. And they've started transitioning from everyone can see my content whenever I pay or whenever I post something to more of a pay to play. Facebook has transitioned primarily from a social media platform to really more of an advertising platform. And so oftentimes you'll see, and it can be easy to get discouraged that your posts aren't getting in front of a lot of people. A simple boost and things like that can really open it up, and it doesn't have to cost a ton of money to do something like that. But boosting and doing ads on Facebook are a great opportunity to get in front of specific demographics. And since it's been around a long time, it's a little stale. Newer users, younger users don't typically focus on Facebook. Next up is Instagram. Instagram is growing super fast, 1 billion monthly users. Instagram is owned by Facebook. And that's a key thing to know because a lot of like your advertising efforts and things like that are actually tied to your Facebook account. Average user tends to be a little bit younger, 18 to 24. Female and tech savvy. The reason being for the tech savvy side is you got to use your phone in order to post. So that's a big key part of Instagram. 60% of our users on Instagram are going to be using it on a daily basis. So that means these are fairly active users and they're going to be looking at content. Things you're going to be posting are images and videos. They have multiple areas for you to be posting them. One is your normal feed, which is just image-based or videos. The story is something similar to Snapchat, where they're posted and they stick around for 24 hours. That's a great way to show off an event or something like that. And then you can do live videos or longer videos through Instagram as well, as they kind of move towards that a little bit more. Instagram, it was kind of built on the foundation of hashtags. You'll probably notice if you've ever been on Instagram, hashtags are a large chunk of the post. You'll see a lot of that. What hashtags are focused on are going to be um, the search functionality. So people, that's why using hashtags are going to be super important here. Typically, we would recommend somewhere between 5 to 10 different hashtags, and that varies based on your ideas of that. But 5 to 10 is a good idea of what you should be posting with any given post. And you want to focus on trending hashtags, hashtags that relate to the actual post, as well as hashtags that relate to your business as a whole. Products and events are obviously great to be focused on with Instagram. Within Instagram, you can actually point out specific products and tag them to drive users to go to your store. And then events with their story functionality, it's a great way to promote things. As I mentioned as well, young following is going to be key here. So Facebook, more the older demographic. Instagram, definitely a younger demographic. A great place to start to build that brand and that exposure to a younger demographic. Some of the negatives I had mentioned, it's phone-based, so it can be difficult to manage at times, especially if you're doing things from your desktop all the time. And there are some ways to move it to your computer, but it doesn't work super well with third-party applications like Hootsuite to post from your actual computer. So that's something that it tends to be a negative. The other negative is links. People will often use like a link page or a page on their website that just has recent updates and things like that to make it easier, but you can only have a link in your bio and you can't post a link in the actual post. The post will not work, or the link will not work within the post. So obviously negative in terms of you're trying to drive traffic to your website, but from the branding side of things and exposure to products and that younger demographic, with 1 billion users, definitely a key place to look at. Twitter. So Twitter is a slower growing. They've been around a long time as well. Kind of the king or queen, if you will, of the hashtag world. 325 million active users. And they tend to be in that similar range of the Instagram users. Tend to be good with technology, often utilizing their phone to post, but you can do it from a desktop as well. As you can see, most of the active users are going to be using their phone. Content to post tends to be really quick. You're limited by number of characters, but within an actual post, you can do things like chain posts to make your posts a little bit longer and add on to a post. So they're starting to lean towards opening it up to more characters and things like that. But quick posts are going to be typically the way to go. So tips, facts, quotes, retweeting other experts or friendlies, business owners in your space. For example, we might retweet Office Centers and say, hey, it was great working with you guys on this presentation, for example. Another thing would be customer spotlights, tagging customers specifically in posts with that @ symbol and their handle is going to be a great way to sort of tell the world about one of your clients, but then also give them an opportunity to reach back and do the same for you. It's kind of that mindset of, if you review me, I'll review you back sort of mindset. And a lot of times when you're posting on social media, it's great to do that and highlight others so that you're seen as sort of that person that's trying to bring exposure to everyone in your industry. How to use it? Following companies. Sometimes people use it as literally just a fly on the wall source. So if it's not using it as posting for your actual business, you can use it to follow specific companies and see what they're up to. See what sort of changes are happening in your industry. It's a great place to get those quick updates. And to really focus on, all right, I just want to know about the tech industry. I just want to know about the housing market, things like that. It's definitely a way to elevate your status and get more attention to your company. And it allows you to interact and get to know your customers better, very much a customer service oriented. So a lot of times, more often than not, people will reach out if they have some sort of a question or concern where they can't get a hold of you. That tends to be a place to do that, where you're reaching out and saying, hey, I can't get a hold of you, or your system's not working, can you help me? It's a great place to sort of work as a help desk. And you'll see oftentimes a lot of companies will actually point their help desk to their Twitter pages. So negatives, it's really expected to be tweeting often. And when I say often, the recommendations tend to be like 4 or 5 times a day, which is a lot. I'm not saying you have to do that, but that's definitely a way to sort of use this in the best light. And most PR explosions tend to happen here. I'm sure you've seen lots of that stuff, but that is an area that Twitter is a place.
As a coach can.
Oh, go ahead. All right, moving on. LinkedIn is our next platform. So LinkedIn, there are 300 plus million users. Tends to be the older demographic, tends to be male, sales and marketing related, newer technology, and most of the users are in the US. Big key here is there are sort of 2 places as a business owner that you can utilize it. One thing is a personal page, and then one thing is a business page. In many eyes, both of them are considered your business page because this is a business platform. It's a business social platform. So if you're a small, 10 or fewer employee company, you're kind of the head, the face of the business. Posting on LinkedIn as your personal can be super effective because your posts are easily seen by all of your followers. And it's typically more of a older style in terms of the visibility of all your posts and things like that. Business pages tend to be a little bit more of the follow for industry focused things or changes in a business, new hiring, new services, upcoming events, things like that. Oftentimes what we recommend on LinkedIn is you might post something on your business page and then share it from your business page on your personal profile. Kind of the best of both worlds to do both of them. contact to post, you can actually post on your individual page case studies. So if you write a blog, this can be a great place to sort of take that blog that you put on your website and also put it on your personal profile. Infographics tend to be super successful. If there's an infographic, a graphic showing a bunch of stats and things like that related to your industry, these can be super helpful and tend to be interacted with highly successfully, comments and likes and things like that. Your videos are also a new place that tend to be a growing area. Users are using are watching videos more and more, and this can be a great place to do a short clip talking about how you can help people, and then facts and statistics, similar to that short "Hey, I can help you" sort of mindset, and then posting items that can connect with other business owners. If you're in a networking group and you had a one-to-one with somebody, saying, "Hey, I had a great one-to-one with somebody," and posting that and tagging that individual can be an awesome way to highlight that person and highlight certain things about that person. From a user standpoint, you can also use this as more of a sales tool. You can find key referral partners, target prospects. They have paid features that allow you to really dive into things and find tons of information. So if you're not using it, definitely recommend diving into that from that standpoint. It also has moved towards the virtual resume. So when you're hiring and things like that, this is a great place to look at for those sort of details. Some of the negatives, I had mentioned personal page versus business page. Definitely not the easiest to understand what's best to post. But if you're doing it, like I mentioned, posting on your business page and then sharing to your personal page is a great way to start to make that less confusing. And then their navigation, where to find all of these things, tends to change pretty often. And so trying to find where some of these changes are, especially if you're newer to technology, can be a bit of an interesting task to deal with. Next up is Google My Business. So Google My Business is basically what took over in a lot of ways for Google Plus. Many of you maybe have heard of Google Plus as it was launched and no longer around. But the big deal with Google My Business is it's that Google Maps listing on Google Maps, right? So any business owner can actually have one of these listings, and the key is going to be local. So if you are a local business, or if you are looking to be found locally, having a Google My Business page is extremely important, and it's free. When I look at these stats, they're pretty eye-opening. 84% of searches are discovery focused. So when people are searching for things, they're looking to find you. That's the potential. That's what they're trying to find. And when they're looking at finding contact information, website information, directions, things like that. Google My Business makes that process super simple. And they also tend to actually click on your website to learn more about you before they actually go to visit you or something like that. A big key here is this stat. I think it's a little old, but 56% of businesses still need to claim their page. And that is something that you can do for free pretty easily at google.com/business. Things that you can post there. If you're trying to figure out what I'm talking about, whenever you do like a local search, like coffee shops near me is a great example. You might find that Google Maps listings, if you search for a specific business like office centers, they might have that knowledge panel that shows up on the right side of search. That is all controlled by Google My Business. So if you look at Skol Marketings, we do things like post our events on there. We post photos on there, and generally you can post general social posts as well. The nice thing about it is events will stay up, obviously, until the event has passed. Social posts, you can keep them and have them last for 7 days. So it's a little easier to manage. And then this is kind of a, once you set it up, then you don't have to manage it too much after that, unless you change address or change your number or website or something. It's key to obviously showing up on Google Maps. It's a free place to display your contact information and create a backlink to your website. And another positive, which can be seen negatively by some, is getting reviews and helping you get seen. So the more reviews you have, you're going to have some color that's added to your actual listing. So if people are trying to choose between you and another, they're going to look at things like reviews. Reviews obviously are something that are pretty key for a lot of businesses. And a lot of users know how to review on Google and will just do it on their own. But it's an easy ask for companies to do to try to build that review process. Some of the negatives, reviews can be negative depending on what you're looking for. If you're worried about negative reviews, I always talk about 2 positive reviews and 1 negative review, not the end of the world, as long as you respond to that negative review in a positive light. So a great way to sort of grow this side of things is to ask your business friends, people in your networking group, people that you're connected to, that you've worked with on a professional level, to do things like give you a review for your character or things like that. And then the other negative is it's more local focused. So if you have more of a national focused, you can do business in many different states. You have an e-commerce business. This may not be the right platform for you. Pinterest has 290 million monthly users. Tends to be very female oriented, in that after college sort of young family area. Half of the users actually have kids, and they tend to use Pinterest as a way to either keep track of ideas, look for different ways to simplify their life, how-tos, things like that. If you're in the home services industry and you help with staging or design for your landscape design, this can be a great place to sort of showcase some of your visual work that you've done. It's a great place to sort of post things and get some exposure based on some of the work that you've done, and give ideas to potential customers. Some of the content posts are obviously images showcasing your work, checklists on, here are the top things that you should do if you're a first-time home buyer, for example, or top 10 things to look at with your plumbing issues. You can also showcase samples of work that you've done. If you're an artist, this is a great opportunity for things like that, or if you create products and things like that. When you're posting, you'll always have to have a link, so you're going to drive traffic to your website on that. You can definitely expand your email subscribers this way. People want to follow you because you create good content. And obviously by posting a product or something like that and having a link to that specific product can be a great way for new users to find your products and buy them online. Great for e-commerce specific. Some of the negatives, obviously, visual business. If you're a divorce lawyer or a something of that nature, it might be a little bit more difficult for you to find content to post that's going to be more visual. Other negatives, it is definitely a more niche group that you're going after on this side of things. But Pinterest is definitely an option, and for those visual businesses can be a great opportunity for people to do. Next up is Snapchat. This made huge waves a number of years ago. They have 300 million daily active users. It typically is younger, and they typically are college graduates or college age, some sort of college background. So if you're looking for that, this could be an opportunity to look at. About half of the users are going to be using Snapchat several times a day. And so it's an opportunity to look at. Some of the things to be posting are going to be snaps or images, videos, interactive and fun content. The big key here is that it is more about brand awareness and company culture, and trying to showcase yourself as a cutting edge place. This is not a suitable place for your general average business. I would say if you're an event space or something like that, could be a super valuable place to be, but it definitely takes a lot more effort and time to utilize something like Snapchat, because you're going to have to create new content constantly in order to keep your feed updated and keep users interacting with you. It's still fairly new, and so that's definitely something, and it's a little bit more stale because other platforms, Facebook and Instagram, have added things like stories, which were kind of created by Snapchat. So there's definitely more of a lean towards, if you're looking for that sort of feature, maybe Instagram might be a better option because it offers other opportunities within the platform as well. But still important to recognize Snapchat. Just for the general business, probably not the best place to go. TikTok, you probably all heard of this, and definitely want to recognize TikTok. It is a huge platform, 800 million daily active users, and it's fairly new. Average user is is at 16 to 34, younger. About 60% are female. They're very tech savvy because you're using your phone primarily. More than 2 billion downloads worldwide. If you look at the App Store, it's incredible. This has definitely made waves, but kind of like Snapchat, it's a lot to work with, and very much more brand oriented. The content to post are going to be videos. They're going to be up to 60-second videos. The opportunity is those viral dances or viral posts that are going out on TikTok. It's a great way to have your company do some fun things together and to create fun content to be posting. Great way to jump on things like hashtags that are trending, viral videos that are trending. But again, this is very similar in Snapchat, where you're trying to display your company culture, drive that brand awareness, and show yourselves as, hey, we're cutting edge to the business and to the industry, and you should work with us because we love to have fun as a business. Some of the negatives, still super new, and there's definitely some questions about if it's going to be regulated or if that will ever happen. So there's some questions around that. It's hard to track long-term performance. So your tracking is kind of limited to a month space. So you kind of have to take notes and track that stuff on your own or use third parties. And then you can't easily link back to your website. So not super user friendly from the perspective of, hey, I want to get people to my website so they can learn about my services. But definitely more of a internal brand focused interactive fun platform. And definitely as a personal user, it can be super fun to watch these videos to relax after a hard day's work. So when we talk about social media etiquette, we talk about specifically how social things are versus how business oriented things are. And as you can see from the chart, the Snapchats and TikTok, as I had mentioned, very much on the social side, less business oriented. And the further we get right, the more business oriented. So LinkedIn is designed for businesses. Google My Business is designed for businesses. Facebook is more business leaning. They've been around a lot longer for that. The one key that's kind of interesting is, although Twitter is more social leaning, they all posts and things like that are actually indexed by Google. So there is some value to posting on Twitter, even though you may not have a giant following, to sort of grow that that SEO as you're posting. So finding your voice is going to be a key thing when you're posting on social media. As I kind of talk through some of these, I'm sure wheels were spinning on, hey, this seems like my demographic. This seems like something that I might post more about. It might be Pinterest, where I definitely have a lot of images to show, and I love to start creating boards on that. So starting to think about what platforms are best for you, and then not spreading yourself too thin. Just because I talked about all these different platforms does not mean that every single one of you needs to sign up for every single one of them and get a business profile and start posting on each of them. I would not recommend that, because it just makes social media way too difficult to manage. Get on a regular schedule, figure out the platform that works best for you and that suits your demographics, and then start creating a schedule for your posts. Minimum, we would say 2 to 3 times a week is perfect to get things out there and to just get into a regular groove of posting. Some of the platforms offer within them an option to post scheduled posts. So that's an opportunity to look at. You can also use third-party applications like Hootsuite, Buddy Media, Buffer. These different platforms allow you to do things like manage all of the different social platforms from one environment. So you're not having to log into one thing and then log into another thing and post. There are some negative connotations to using some of these third-party applications, but that is more based on, hey, the engagement seems to be better if I post just from that one platform. Although that might be true, there's not a ton of statistics that back that. And actually, the real thing is that when you're using a third-party application, oftentimes it's so easy to post the same thing on all platforms. And so that's the big key, is trying to change the posts a little bit for each platform as the users might change and the focus might change. Obviously not posting links on Instagram and things like that. And adding more hashtags to Instagram or to Twitter or these other platforms. So just a key item to bring up and make sure that you're aware of. Search engine optimization is also a key part of social media. This is generally the forgotten benefit of social media. When we talk about posting on social media, it's key to know that your posts are actually indexed on Google Posts, on Facebook, on Twitter, on Pinterest, by Google. And so those posts technically can be found in a general Google search. The whole thing behind this is I don't necessarily think that you always want that to happen, but your idea is more you're trying to expand your reach and expand your online presence by being on more places. So you're not just your website, and you're not just that blog that you're doing on a monthly basis. You're actually on social media. You're on Facebook. You're on Twitter. You're on Pinterest. You're on all these other platforms, and it's telling Google to take a look at those other platforms. And by having your website linked on those platforms, and then your Facebook page or whatever else linked on your website, Google understands, hey, these are all connected. And so there's a positive impact on your overall uh, Google growth and SEO. It's important to be on multiple platforms because you can reach those different demographics. The users, the active users are going to be different on Facebook as they are on Instagram. The younger demographic, if you really want to get in front of that, focus on something like Instagram for that. If you're looking at that 65 plus age, that is a great option to look at Facebook. And then when you decide, hey, I want to be on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, those are the three I want to do. Awesome. Don't forget to be active. Being active is a super key part of that. So that's why we say don't take too much on at once. Don't think about I'm going to do all of these platforms at once, because the more platforms you're on, the harder it gets to manage them all. And if you're not managing them properly or posting, you can get penalized, and SEO there can be a negative impact in terms of your inactivity on those different platforms. And then social media advertising. This is definitely a growing platform. We actually have a webinar specifically on social media advertising. And this is, there are tons of different platforms that offer this. Most of them actually offer this. The big king, I would say, is Facebook. They've done a ton of work on their ad environment. They own Instagram, so you can actually do those ads on Facebook and Instagram relatively easily. I would say still though, the ads tend to run better on Facebook because you're able to control that more, and they blend in a lot better with posts, and people are reading articles and things like that a lot more often through Facebook. Definitely a great place to look at for if you're trying to say, okay, rather than do like Google Ads or SEM pay-per-click option, I want to look at going in front of a specific user base or demographic. And by doing that specifically, you're able to do that within social media ads by focusing on, hey, I'm just trying to find the people that are living in a 20-mile radius of Minneapolis. They love real estate, and they are married. You can do that sort of stuff and focus on those. And so those ads would only show up for those type of people, rather than on the Google ads or pay-per-click side of things, where you're going after more of their search keywords or something like that. And that's generally it in terms of the content. I saw a bunch of messages. I didn't have a chance to look at them all. So
yeah, we have a ton of questions.
Perfect.
I can just read them off to you, and
Yeah.
we can go through them one by one here. So first question was, are hashtags helpful on Facebook and LinkedIn as well, or only sites like Instagram and Twitter?
They are still helpful on Facebook and LinkedIn, but they're just not used as much. So the user base really understands how to utilize them on Instagram and Twitter, but they're generally newer features on your Facebook and on LinkedIn. So they're not utilized as much. So it's not necessary on those platforms as much as it is on Instagram and Twitter.
Yeah, I know people don't really use the hashtag search function nearly as much on those, but it still does help a little bit.
Yep. Yep.
How many posts per day would you recommend for each platform? I know you recommended 5 to 7 a week, but like for each platform, what would you think?
Yeah. So that's I would say that 5 to 7 mark per platform is going to be a great place to start. Now each platform has their different focuses and things like that. As I mentioned, like Twitter, it would be more like 3 to 5 a day, which is a lot more. And so as a business owner, I understand that that's maybe not realistic. And so it's still just as valuable from a standpoint of like your SEO and trying to keep that active and not having a negative impact on you, to just be keeping that active by posting, once a day during the work week, or that 2 to 3 times, whatever you're comfortable with on that side of things. And then obviously like Instagram, you might post just once a day for the actual news feed, but you might post, 4 or 5 times on stories to keep that sort of feed active as well. So there's kind of different places that you might be posting, but general rule of thumb, to make it easy and simple for business owner, 5 to 7 on your own platforms per platform is going to be a great place to start. And then as you get more comfortable, lean into the ones that you feel better about, is what I'd say.
Sounds good. What is the best way to handle negative reviews? Ignore them or counter them?
Counter them. That's and I guess when I hear counter, I'm unsure of what that person was meaning, but specifically, turn that negative into a positive. So if somebody gives you a negative review, it's best practice to be professional with those, and to review those in a way that are going to say, hey, we really care about your experience, and we want to turn that frown upside down, if you will, and we'd love you to contact us. They can't respond back to that. It just basically turns it from. We've had some clients where they do a positive review and they turn that into, or they get a negative review and they respond to it. They work with that client and they turn that into a positive review. So there's an opportunity there. And either way, if a customer or a potential customer is looking at those negative reviews and they see that it's not responded to, that almost has a negative connotation as well, because you're not caring about each of those reviews. And if you do respond to it, it shows, hey, you're putting effort into making sure the customer experience is the best you can. And people understand, everyone's human. So you're going to make mistakes, and not every experience can be perfect. So.
Sure. Another question here. If a business has multiple locations, do we need to set up separate Google My Business pages for each location?
Yes. It kind of depends on the business, but I would say yes. The only reason maybe not to is if it's a business that you're like, I'm trying to have a little bit more control over reviews and send them to just one place. That'd be the only reason that you might, if it's like you have 2 locations or something like that. But the opportunity is, let's say you have a business in Woodbury and a business in Minnetonka. Those are 2 different environments that are going to be locally searched. So you're going to want to show up in those areas, because it is really focused on the local, and tied down to the surrounding area. And obviously, depending on your business, it's even more important. Restaurants, the square mile radius you're really focused on. So.
Yep. I know for office centers, we have 7 locations, and each of our locations has their own Google business page. It's helpful to have all of the reviews be for separate locations as well, just so that you can react to them specifically from each location.
Absolutely.
This is a more personal question. Would a music school be a good candidate to use Pinterest?
It definitely could be. It just is in terms of utilizing it in a way of showcasing images on things that relate to your like how to get started as a young musician, or things related to that topic. Definitely can be a place. Pinterest is definitely a it tends to be a lot of artists are on that platform, so that is something to be aware of as well. So the demographic is also a thing to look at. So I'm not entirely sure if it's a school for young people, or if it's a school for general public, and adults can attend, because that can be a place that, if it's that 35 plus, and they're trying to get into a new instrument, that might be that could be a great demographic in Pinterest.
Simple question here: who owns Snapchat?
I don't remember the guy's name, but
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're independent from
Snapchat owns themselves. Yeah,
yeah,
they are
they're
not.
independent from other ones.
I don't know the owners of it, but yeah, they were potentially going to be bought by Facebook, and they turned them down. So.
Sure. If someone from our team can specialize in each platform that seems to cover my demographic, would there be a negative effect on having several platforms to use as a business?
So if it's coming from different individuals, the voice might change. So that's the thing to be aware of. If you are, if you're having multiple people manage it, just recognizing that your voice might matter, and so somebody might be a little bit more aggressive, and absolutely they could all manage greatly, but the big thing is that the team should collaborate, and so they should have the messaging be similar in terms of the goal of the messaging, or the specials that you're running, or things like that. Obviously, if you have a person that is younger and they love Instagram, they're super good at it, they could definitely manage that, and have somebody that is on the sales team maybe manage the LinkedIn. That could be a beneficial way to look at it. But that messaging, and keeping the same sort of tone is kind of an important piece as well.
Sure. In your opinion, what is the best third-party app to use for posting?
We use Hootsuite. I really enjoy it. I think there's a lot of good things that come about that. I've looked at a few others. The big thing comes down to price, and what you're looking at. And I know Hootsuite has kind of changed their prices a lot since we started using them. And so, depending on that, that's kind of what I would say. If you have quite a bit of budget, and you have a larger company, it's pretty easy to just say, yeah, we want that because it's easier. But if you have a smaller budget, there are some great third-party applications. If you do a Google search for budget focused ones, they all do sort of the same thing. They just kind of look different, and they usually have add-ons to make it a little bit more expensive, like analytics reports that you can pull from there, and things like that you probably don't need, because you can typically get them from each individual platform.
All right. Another question: can I post a video copied from a different site?
If it's a YouTube video, absolutely, you can grab a link to that. If it's you know, a video from a different site, that you know, it's somebody's website, and you're basically, what you would do is you would post a link to their website. But unless you have permission, then you're kind of in that, you know, making sure that you have permission to post those things.
All right. Are Facebook ads, or so Facebook ads are shared with Instagram. Is it all part of the same price, or do we pay for each?
So it's campaign based, and so you can have your you know, your budget set towards you know, the whole campaign, and you can have it split then between the two platforms if you'd like. Facebook kind of does it where, you know, depending on how you set them up, they might push more of the budget towards the more successful platforms. So it might end up going more towards Facebook, or it might end up going more towards Instagram, depending on how the ad is running and what kind of ad you're running. So.
All right. Should one be using their personal Facebook page to promote their business, or just use their business page for that?
This generally relates to what business you're in. So if you're like a financial advisor, for example, and you're trying to connect with families and other individuals, it could be a great opportunity to utilize your personal Facebook page, to you know, to connect with people that you haven't in the past, and obviously keep up to date with job changes and things like that. They might not recognize it elsewhere. The other side of things is, the big thing is, don't utilize it as a spammy, like only sell, sell, sell. That's pretty obvious, and people will stop looking at your stuff, and the Facebook algorithm will just, your stuff won't be seen, or an individual user can just stop seeing your stuff. They can turn it off, and without unfriending you. So there's a lot of control on the user base on that side, and so be careful on that side of things. But what I typically say is, if you have a business page, and you haven't, share it with all your friends to like it. It's a great way to grow it, and nobody's going to unfriend you because you shared your business with them. That's a great opportunity to get a bunch of followers for free. And then every once in a while, sharing posts if you have a big event, especially if you know your friends are like, they love helping you out and being a part of your work and your life. So that's a great opportunity for you to share things from your business page on your personal page.
All right. And then one person did ask, it's 5 per 7 per week, not per day. That is correct. That'd be a lot of posts.
Yep.
Is YouTube considered a social media business page, or just your YouTube channel?
YouTube is technically a social media platform, but it's also a search platform. We actually have our own workshop specifically on YouTube and the benefits of using YouTube. That's kind of why we don't really talk about it as much in this, because it really is a totally different animal than all these, and we don't expect you to be posting 5 to 6 videos per week on YouTube. That would be quite a bit, and you know, depending on your experience creating videos, could be real expensive as well.
Yep. And then just one more clarification about the number of posts. Oh, nope. She said that the question was answered.
Okay,
so
perfect.
I think that's it for questions. Yeah, looks like we got caught up with the questions.
Awesome. Well, again, I appreciate you guys for having me on. And as I mentioned, we do other workshops. We do a lot of workshops within office centers and webinars with you guys. So check out our workshops page on our website for any upcoming workshops. If YouTube was one that you're interested in, if social media ads is one you're interested in. If we don't have one on the schedule, feel free to reach out to us and request things like that, because we'd love to make sure that we're putting out the content that you guys want. And feel free to contact me as well. I think we're going to be reaching out with the slides. So you'll have that and all the information from the slides. And if you have any questions or would like to do a complimentary session, we do a 30-minute complimentary session with anyone that's interested, talking about social media, web design, anything digital marketing related. And we can help understand where you guys are and talk about some ideas, strategies for 2021.
Great. Thank you so much, Marty, from Office Centers. I just wanted to say thank you for everybody who joined us today. Office Centers provides networking events like this or workshops like this every week. Next week, we have another event coming up. It's a networking event called Slice of Woodbury. It's just a general networking event. We play some games and it's a lot of fun. You can win prizes and stuff like that. Week after that, we have another workshop coming up. It's our Power Lunch series, and it's all based this year. Our Power Lunch series is all based around marketing and branding and planning for 2021. So if you want to take a look at that, you can go to our website and check out our events that are coming up. And yeah, I just want to say thanks again to Marty. A lot of really useful information, a lot of great questions. I really appreciate all the engagement from everybody. And yeah, thanks a lot for everybody who joined us today, and everybody have a great day now.